It's official. Donald Trump has won the presidential election, making him the 47th U.S. president. Today, we have a news article to talk about the election and Trump winning. Trump pulls off historic White House comeback. Donald Trump has sealed a historic victory in the U.S. presidential election and completed his stunning political comeback. The Republican comfortably defeated Democrat Kamala Harris in what polls had suggested would be a very tight election after he swept several key battleground states and won a commanding lead in the national popular vote. He becomes the first former president to return to the White House in more than 130 years, and at 78, he is the oldest man elected to America's highest office. Harris called to congratulate him on his victory on Wednesday afternoon. Her campaign said, emphasizing the importance of a peaceful transfer of power and being a president for all Americans. President Joe Biden also called Trump, expressing his commitment to ensure a smooth transition and inviting him for a meeting, a White House statement said. Accompanied by his family and his picks for Vice President J.D. Vance, Trump told supporters in West Palm Beach, "This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have with my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me." Elon Musk, the world's richest man and Trump's mega donor, was with the Republican candidate as the results came in. The billionaire posted increasingly positive messages on X, which he owns, throughout the night. Trump swept several key battleground states, with CBS projecting that he won in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, and North Carolina, and appears to be on a track for a clean sweep of all 7 swing states that were crucial for a win. Projections suggest he is likely to win the overall popular national vote, a feat he fell short of when first elected in 2016. Trump also had a solid lead in Nevada, while the race remained tight in the other Sun Belt battleground of Arizona. As expected, Trump has dominated conservative strongholds from Florida to Idaho, while Harris won liberal states from New York to California, CBS projects. The Democrat had been expected to address the crowd on election night at Howard University in Washington, D.C., where she was an undergraduate, but it emerged after midnight that she would not appear as her prospects of victory receded. So let's get on to part 2, where I will read each sentence individually and I'll break it down to make it more easy to understand. Trump pulls off a historic White House comeback. So first word we'll go over is historic. Historic is an adjective meaning important in history. Why is this a historic moment? Well, as it mentioned in the article, it's been more than 100 years since a president has been re-elected with a gap in between his 2 terms. Comeback has multiple meanings. The first meaning I want to talk about is being behind and pulling ahead to secure a victory. For example, if you're watching some sport like basketball and one team has 80 points, the other team has 100 points, and the final score of the game is 105 to 100, that means the team that had 80 points secured a comeback. They were 20 points down and they won by being 5 points ahead. Another way we use comeback is if something is popular, it disappears for a while, and then it comes back again and is popular again. I think both of these meanings fit for this title. When I first read this article, I believe that it was the first one, being behind but pulling ahead. Trump lost the previous presidential election, but he made a comeback and he secured the next one. Donald Trump has sealed a historical victory. Sealed here means concluded or established. Think of it this way. If you're writing a letter and you put it into an envelope and you seal the envelope, it is done. The only thing you can do is open or destroy the envelope, but it is done. It is sealed. It is concluded. The next word we'll talk about is stunning, which means shocking or amazing. Here, I think it's kind of both of these. It's both shocking and amazing. As I said previously, Trump lost the previous presidential election. So people may find it shocking or amazing that he was able to come back and secure the victory. Another way we can say this is Donald Trump has secured a historical victory in the U.S. presidential election by making a comeback, by getting re-elected into office. Let's talk about this phrase, very tight election. Very tight means close. If you think about clothing that is tight or a tight space, it is small, it is narrow, there's not much room. So when we say that there is a very tight election, it means there's not much room between the victor and the loser. The next word I want to go over is the word swept. The first thought about swept you may think about is what you may do in your house. You take a broom and you sweep your house. The house is swept. Swept in this situation means to win decisively or dominate. You may hear this term in sports or competition, where let's say you have to win a best of five, meaning one team has to win three. If one team wins game 1, 2, and 3, you can say they swept the competition, they won decisively, the other team didn't get any points at all. The next word I want to talk about is battleground states. A battleground is a place where a battle or a fight takes place. Around election time in America, you'll often hear the phrase battleground states. America is mostly a two-party system, the Republicans and the Democrats. There are some states that consistently vote Republican, and there's some states that consistently vote Democrat. There are some states that will go back and forth each election. These are the battleground states. We will talk more about battleground states later on in this article. So to rephrase this paragraph or sentence, the Republicans comfortably or easily defeated Democrat Kamala Harris in what polls had suggested. The next thing we should talk about is commanding lead. If you are commanding people, it means you are very confident. So here, it's kind of like saying confident lead. This commanding lead means he is confidently leading ahead of Kamala, and there is no comeback. There's not going to be a recount because the gap is too big. If they recount and they find some differences, it's unlikely that they're going to find that many differences to swing it the other direction. So let's restate this sentence. Republicans comfortably defeated or easily defeated Democrat Kamala Harris in what polls suggested would be a very tight election or very close election. After he swept or easily won several key battleground states and won a commanding lead, a very confident, comfortable lead in the national popular vote. Overall, what this is saying is the polls believed that it was going to be a very close election, but in actuality, Trump won pretty comfortably. Highest office in America is being the president. So what this sentence is saying is he becomes the first former president or past president to return to the White House in more than 130 years. Return to the White House meaning he was elected, then he wasn't in office, and then he was elected again. And at 78, he is the oldest man elected to be America's president. One word I want to highlight here is emphasizing, which means giving a special importance. For example, if someone asks you, what's your favorite movie? You may emphasize one movie that you love, especially more than the others. So to summarize the sentence, Trump's competition, Kamala Harris, called to congratulate Trump on his victory Wednesday afternoon. Her campaign said emphasizing, meaning giving special importance to this message, the importance of peaceful transfer of power and being a president for all Americans. The reason why she puts emphasis on this is in the past there was a protest after Trump lost the previous election. So she wants this peaceful transfer of power from Biden to Trump. And being a president for all Americans, because America has a two-party system, the two parties don't have similar beliefs. So what she's saying here is she wants Trump to be a president for all Americans of all beliefs. That way, no one is pushed aside because they have different beliefs. The first word I want to go over here is expressing. Expressing basically means communicating in this situation. Biden is communicating his commitment, meaning promise, to ensure, to make certain, a smooth transition, a comfortable switch. Expression in this sense is to communicate. Joe Biden called Trump to communicate his plan. And his plan is he has a commitment. A commitment means a promise. If you are committed to something or you are committed to someone, you are promised to them to ensure, to make certain. For example, if your boss asks you to do a task, you can ensure him that it will be done. You can tell him it will certainly be done. A smooth transition. So here we're talking about the transition of power, the transition of presidency from Joe Biden to Donald Trump. A smooth transition, meaning it is comfortable, it is an easy process. The opposite of a smooth transition would be a rocky transition where things are not smooth, they are not comfortable. Maybe the two parties are fighting each other and they're not trying to make the process easy. So, to make it simpler, we can say President Joe Biden called Trump, communicating his promise to make certain there will be a comfortable switch of power and inviting him for a meeting, a White House statement said. Accompanied simply means to go somewhere with someone. So here, Trump was accompanied by his family, meaning his family went with him. The next word I want to go over is the word supporters. Pretty simple. The word support means you agree with something. Supporters are the people who support or agree. In this case, with Donald Trump. This magnificent victory for the American people. Magnificent is just a great way of saying impressive or amazing or great. So to restate this whole sentence, to summarize this sentence, Trump made a speech at West Palm Beach with his family and Vice President J.D. Vance, and he spoke to his supporters, saying this is an amazing victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again. I think this section is pretty straightforward, but to break down a little bit, every ounce of energy means every little bit. For example, this cup had coffee, but I've already drank every ounce of it. The next word I want to go over is entrusted. Entrusted means you are putting trust into him. By voting for him, people are putting their trust that he will fix things that he promised. So to break this part down, Donald Trump said, the task before us, being a president, will not be easy, but I will bring every little bit of my energy and spirit and fight that I can with my soul to the job that people have trusted him to do, to be a president. So for this part, I think the main thing we want to talk about is mega donor. Mega donor, we can break it up into two parts. Mega means something big. Donor is a person who donates money or time. If you or I donate money to a cause, we are probably just a normal donor. But Elon Musk is a mega donor because he has donated millions of dollars to Trump for this election. So we can break it down a few words here. Projecting. Projecting means estimating or forecasting. Here they're saying CBS is predicting or estimating that he has won these states. And he appears to be on track. Appears to be on track, meaning he is likely to succeed. Think of it like a train. A train stays on track. If you go off track, that means the train is not on the track anymore, meaning something has lost its way. It's not going the way that it is expected to go. So here, he is being on track for a clean sweep. It means when all the votes are counted, it is likely that he will have completed his clean sweep of the 7 swing states that were crucial for a win. Crucial meaning vital or very important. So to summarize this part, Trump easily won, swept, several of the key battleground states, with CBS predicting or forecasting that he has won in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, and North Carolina, and it appears likely to succeed that he will have a clean sweep of all 7 swing states that were very important for his presidential win. Projections are predictions, and a feat is a challenge. To break it down, predictions suggest he is likely to win the overall popular vote nationally, a challenge he fell short of when first elected in 2016. To break this down a little bit more besides the vocabulary, the popular vote nationally means which candidate gets the most votes nationally in the whole country. In 2016, he won the election, but he didn't have the popular vote. This is a very complicated subject. This is about the Electoral College. So when he won in 2016, he won, but he didn't have the national vote. This time, he has the national vote and the victory. Here, the word solid just means firm. He has a firm lead, a very strong lead. It's likely to not change. I think this is pretty straightforward. He won Nevada, but things in Arizona are still being counted, and they're pretty close, pretty tight. So the first word we'll break down is dominated. Dominated means has a command. They're kind of in control. So Trump here is saying that he is in control of conservative strongholds. Conservative meaning holding traditional values. People who are conservative typically have some beliefs that have been carried down for years. A stronghold is a fortress, a very strong defended place. So when it says conservative stronghold, what this means is basically these states that they're talking about here, they are conservative and are typically conservative. For example, Florida oftentimes votes Republican, and also Idaho oftentimes votes Republican. As I said earlier in this video, some states typically always vote Republican or always vote Democrat. While Harris won liberal states, Democrats are often described as liberal, typically meaning that they support same sex marriage or the right for a woman to have more control of her body. So, to break this part down, they're saying that, as expected, Trump has a command of the conservative, traditional states from Florida to Idaho, while Harris won liberal, democratic states from New York to California. CBS projects. CBS projects here basically means says. So let's break down some of the words here. The first one is address. To address something is to speak directly to somebody. Even if you are writing a letter, you have to include the address, which is like the direct place where you are, your house number, street number, things like that. But it emerged after midnight means it came out. If something emerges, it comes out of something. For example, in some fantasy story, maybe you'll hear that a beast emerged from the shadows, it came out of the shadows. She would not appear as her prospects, meaning her chances of victory receded. Receded meaning went away, went back, went down, something like that. With men, you may hear the word receding hairline, meaning their hairline, where their hair starts, will go back. Receding can also talk about water. For example, when the tide comes in or the tide comes out. When the tide comes out, the water recedes. It goes away, goes back into the ocean. So to summarize this, the Democrats had expected to speak directly to a crowd on election night at Howard University in Washington, D.C., where she was an undergraduate, but came out after midnight that she would not appear as her chances of victory went down. The last thing to do is just to discuss this article. So Trump won. I am both surprised and not surprised that Trump won. I think both sides are very vocal for supporting or not supporting Donald Trump. Personally, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but I'm also not a fan of Kamala Harris. I think that this is a tricky election. I think that the biggest reason why Kamala lost is she just did not influence people to come out and vote. I think Trump speaks to a certain kind of people. I think Trump does a very good job of speaking and motivating and rallying people, and they showed up at the election, they voted, and that's how he won. He won the popular vote, and he won the overall election. I think the American election is a very big thing in the world because America influences a lot of things. America imports and exports a lot of things. With Trump winning, I'm very curious to see how things will change. I'm curious to see how America will handle immigration and the border situation. I'm curious to see how America will handle Ukraine and Israel and Palestine. There's a lot of things going on in this world. I think a lot of the world is struggling right now. I'm hoping that Trump can do something to improve the situation for the average American. All we can do now is just sit and wait and see what happens. But I want to thank you for watching this video. Thank you if you made it all the way to the end. Please leave a like and follow. If you made it this far, you have to leave a like and follow. But anyway, that's it for now. See you in the next video. Bye.